Hey everyone, we're you're with us on YouTube at the moment. We're gonna do some extra stuff at the top, and it's a hodgepodge really to begin. It's nothing too long. We're gonna bounce around about 4 topics right here off the bat, and then we'll go into our usual audio, and you can hear that on any podcast app if you choose to switch over. HBO is cancellation happy again. Perry Mason, we bemoaned it
Yes.
a month or two ago. But now they let Winning Time go.
I mean, they're like, what are you going to do? Stop paying for it?
I know. Yeah, so Winning Time, I never got a chance to talk about it here on our podcast. I debated writing something about it, but it was kind of too much to manage in a singular piece. If you got into basketball in the 80s or mid 80s or even the 90s, or if you just kind of like generalized sports dramatization, man, you could not go wrong with this show, Winning Time. It's the Lakers' rise in the early 80s. It begins with drafting Magic Johnson. And the cast was stellar. Just stellar. I cannot get over how great the cast was. I think to myself, you just can't cast a Magic Johnson and a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They're too iconic. They're too noticeable. And you're not going to find an actor that's good enough to act, looks like them, and is tall enough, and can play basketball.
Tall enough being very important. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sure they do a few camera tricks for that, but the gentlemen, they get to play all the players, not just Kareem, not just Magic. Larry Bird is amazing on this show. He's a little one note, but I get what they're going for with it. Anyway, the cancellation of Winning Time has just broken my heart. The one good thing they did was let them know back in January of this year and let them film a tag to put on at the end. They were only in 1984 of the Lakers run, and
Jeez.
Magic didn't retire. Well, he retired and then come back, I think is what he did. I think he retires around 91 or something and then comes back. Wins MVP at the All-Star game his year he comes back when they were thinking he can't do it. Just so much more story to go. His HIV diagnosis, they never got around to that. Never get around to Jordan joining the league, which would have been very fascinating. The Dream Team, all of that. So much story left, and it's absolutely stupid to go any further or to even think about it as a show without realizing that some of these cats were given the performance of their lifetime. John C. Reilly was really, really good. And he's just pretty, you see him in something and you think, man, he's pretty good. He's pretty funny. He's not too shabby. Do you guys remember him in Chicago?
Yeah, just the jilted husband.
So he's, doing some grade A acting there, right? Would you say he is, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
So here he's doing that level, and it's just so good. He plays Dr. Jerry Buss, the owner of the Lakers during that time period, who buys the Lakers, then drafts Magic, which is not a controversial draft pick, but going forward, he does a few things that are a little different. It just goes to show that I think that HBO has turned into a crack house.
Oh, it's
and now I'll turn it over to you.
that guy, David. What is
Zaslav? Zaslav with a Z.
Just the reporting on him, like the New Yorker, probably last month did a big article on him, and he's just.
Oh. I need to read it.
He's nuts. I mean, he's not really nuts. He's like, oh, this exists to make profit. Like, I'm beholden to the shareholders, not you, the viewers. We've been giving you things for free for years. Now it's time for you to give me something.
Okay, so I read a few pull quotes from that.
Yeah.
He sounds like a real jerk.
I mean,
He sounds money hungry, I guess.
I mean, I guess...
Which is what he's supposed to be. Maybe,
it sucks, right? Yeah, but, like, he's a symptom. He's not the disease, right? Like, this is the entirety of the world we live in. It just happens to be impacting something we can notice at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, it blows.
It blows. Winning time, they had the acting down. The scripts were fairly decent for the most part. A few things were rushed. A few things were elongated. But you know what they did, especially in the second season? They were able to show sports in one of the most realistic fashions I've seen on TV or movies. Usually that's the part they just can't get right.
Mm-hmm.
The first season you could tell they were using a few pieces of footage a couple times in a row or for a couple shows in a row to fill in some gaps of playing. Here, second season, it was amazing. You felt like you were watching a game again. With the added benefit of great acting and a good story, I don't know. Shame. Well, let's jump to another streamer. Paramount Plus is where Natalie and I digest our challenge.
Climb that mountain.
Yeah,
That mountain of content. Actually, that they do have my favorite tagline, being like, "It's a mountain of content." Just being like, "It's just crap," and we're gonna force feed it to you. And you're going to love us for it.
You're going to climb this mountain.
You're going to climb the mountain of content.
With Paramount Plus roping in Showtime stuff now, it's got some things that might be worth having. I keep it around for challenge stuff. And
where else are you going to watch your Star Trek, Blaine? I know you're a fiend.
I'm not a fan of Star Trek. I've watched a few things, but not a fan, I would say. So challenge, significant spoilers. Skip ahead 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Spoilers lie if you haven't seen the most recent. They've gone Thursday only, and this last Thursday was... Skip ahead. It was...
But I mean, at this point, if you go on the internet at all, and you're a challenge viewer, it's been spoiled for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was pissed Friday morning. Just open up my Google News feed, and it's interviews, and in the title of articles, this person goes home. It's like, man, stop doing that.
That's horrible. Like, that's unacceptable, but it's also bad when they do the really obvious thing but put redacted. Like the ginger with the beard redacted goes home. It's like, oh, you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So Wes went home. Could be his last challenge.
I think it is. He's talking real big about this is it for him. And it's the end of an era.
Is this challenge 38?
Well, this is...
Season 38?
This is not in count because it's not an MTV challenge. The next MTV challenge will be Challenge 39. But this is not on that count. This is season 2 of Challenge USA.
Okay. Big... speculations happening that he'll come back for 40 because they're going to try to bring in huge names for 40 and he would feel really left out. Little FOMO happening.
I don't know. He seems pretty... His reasons for quitting are not like, I've done my time. Like, seems pretty disappointed. Not disappointed, but just like bummed to be leaving this chapter, closing this chapter, essentially. But all of his reasons are pretty like, it would have to be a ton of money and a very short amount of time commitment for him for it to be worth it for him to leave what he's got going on at home.
He and his wife are expecting their first child. He's really good at his business operations outside of the show. Like, that's very much his career. He's not necessarily a challenger by life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he's got crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
And he's even said, he'd love to come back if they could give him, so much time, so much lead time ahead of time to let him know how long he needs to be gone. But it's just not feasible for him to be able to plan that far. Like, if they give him 5 months or whatever and say, hey, we're doing it on this date, that's not enough time for him to get everything planned for his businesses to continue to succeed.
Really?
Essentially, it all came down to that.
Do you know what his businesses consist of?
I know at one point he was really big into like day trading, and then he was teaching other people how to do day trading, and then I think he's got multiple businesses. He also has a monster truck. Don't forget about the monster truck.
Yeah, that's a famous challenge clip.
Yeah. But I think he's got several businesses going on.
Doesn't he own a brewery?
Oh, does he? I don't know.
Or am I confusing him for Bo Hicks?
Yeah, sorry, that's Bo.
That's Bo Hicks. Also, should have been on the challenge.
Well, should he? He should have been on the Real World. He should not have been on the challenge.
Okay, fair. Oh,
No
I'd
offense,
watch
Bo
Bo
Hicks.
Hicks in anything. The confessional room would be on fire.
He should have just taken TJ's job.
Again, brilliant move if they would do it. So, anything besides Wes probably retiring, maybe at least leaving the show for quite a lot. Any recent things? Chris going into elimination 2 weeks in a row, winning 2 weeks in a row, and he's still kind of, I guess, lame on the show, but good at eliminations. What do you want to add to that?
I mean, I still think he's my. I think he might win it.
Huh?
I think he may just sneak through. I think he is good enough in the games that it's not really going to matter that his politics sucks.
Wow, that'd be big because his politics are so bad. If you had to give him a rating in all of the different areas, it's so low, so much lower. You would think a challenge winner is usually decent, has a decent rating in most things, and his would not be as good. The challenge is coming back on in late October. This is an MTV challenge, our home show. We're excited. We didn't get to talk about this last week either, due to time constraints. We're both pretty excited because they're bringing in veterans or some of your favorites to be elimination opponents.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
Everyone else, all the contestants have never won a championship, so you're going to have a new champion. That's the goal. It's called something like that. What, the challenge? What?
For a new champion or something?
Something like that. A new champion. That's exciting because CT's going to be one, or maybe more than one elimination. We don't know how it's exactly going to work. Brad, I noticed he was going to be one. Oh gosh, my mind's going blank. We got more.
I mean, we got Cara Maria finally coming back.
That's right.
That's going to be great. We have our new champion who won Challenge USA Season 1. And I think that's Kaz, I think is her name.
That's
she won it with Jordan.
Yes. Got Casey. She's become quite a regular. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a fun season.
So you're casting the big 40. The big, huge 40. Give me one guy and one girl you're just giving all the money to make sure they're there.
I mean, it's got to be CT and Cara.
Okay, let's take them off the table because that's pretty obvious. Let's take.
You said the big money. They're getting my big money.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, Cara.
And neither one of them have been. They haven't competed really recently. Cara especially.
No. What about? Okay, so my money would be obviously. I think Bananas is a must. You got to put the money there, and then I don't know. Tori is such a regular these last 5 years. Like doing one without her seems so weird, and she is a winner. I mean, she won.
Yeah. I think they should do like some really good, like throwback. Like if we could get Emily back for a season, like people like that, like the early, really strong people that haven't been around in decades.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot of fun. Any
other guys that you think they got to get this person?
I mean, you got to have Kahutta, right?
I would love to see him.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
He's never won. Can we get... I think Leroy's got to come back for this one.
Yeah. He claims to have retired too, and that would be another get.
Yeah. But I think... Isn't he doing All-Stars?
I don't know.
I think he may be doing All-Star season.
That All-Stars news broke 5 months ago or longer, and they still haven't put anything out. It's like they pushed it for a minute, and then they backed off and decided to maybe can it until there's, a break somewhere?
Yeah, maybe so.
I don't know what they're doing with that. I think that's already been played and done for a while. let's see. Another thing that's coming in November, December, Fargo season 5.
November, yeah, we're about 2 months out.
We're interested, if not flat out excited, because of Juno Temple and John Hamm.
Yeah, I think that last season was probably its weakest one. Part of that, like, Chris Rock did fine, but he's not. It was a lot to ask of him, and I feel like some of the supporting characters, like Ben Whishaw, sort of outshone him.
Yeah.
But now we've got, like, oh, okay, we've got some, like, big guns coming back. Sorry, Chris Rock, you're a big gun in other ways.
Chris Rock trying to invent the credit card.
Yeah.
1950s.
I'm
Kansas City.
looking forward to it. We were saying just kind of before we started the show here, you know, I was saying I've never seen John Hamm be outmatched by anything. Like, obviously, you know, Mad Men is iconic, but he can do, you know, bland. He can do goofy. He can do villainous. You know, he can do smart, and he can do bonehead. He can really kind of just do it all.
He runs the gamut from Mad Men to Kimmy Schmidt to... Do you remember him in The Town with Ben Affleck?
Oh, yeah. And do you remember him? He kind of ended... Did you ever watch Baby Driver?
No.
It's good. First off, it's good. Secondly,
Okay.
he's pretty solid in it.
Is he the villain?
He kind of ends up being the villain, but it's not really that kind of movie.
Do you think maybe that Tina Fey predicted all of this, and maybe he's not that good? He's just so good looking that nobody cares.
It's like, what did he... Oh, right. His face looks like a cartoon pilot. I want to put my mouth on his mouth.
The thing with John Hamm is he's not supermodel good looking. He's like dad next door good looking. He's like, he could be anywhere, but he's not anywhere. You know what I mean? He's
No.
like your high school... What? He's like your high school best friend's dad good looking.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay, well, maybe it takes a comparison. Is it John Hamm versus
John C.
Brad
Reilly.
Pitt? Brad Pitt. You know, Brad Pitt's the model.
Well, I guess
especially in
that's
his
true.
younger years. With the long hair. He was the model. The underwear model. Good looks. And then John Hamm's like, you know, you see him shirtless all the time in Mad Men and other things. He's just like kind of a normal looking guy, but also incredibly great.
I think, like, my metric for, like, normal looking guy, and by that I don't mean that negatively or positively, but just like, yeah, that's someone's dad, is like present day Matthew Perry.
Yeah. But he's been through the ringer.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't made it easy on himself.
That's right. The new season of Fargo, though, is more modern. It's only set a few years in the past.
Yep, kind of like what they did with season 3, where it was like very explicitly looking at the financial meltdown and a lot of stuff related to that.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. It should be good. Every now and again, they'll do a little bitty tiny tie-in to a previous season that if you're a careful watcher, you'll pick it. But yeah, it's not mandatory. So maybe we can rope Natalie and Adam into Fargo season 5.
I'm hoping it's a good one. 4 was a little rocky. Give me some of that season 2 mojo.
It was rocky, but it was so watchable.
Oh yeah,
you weren't going to miss
I still
it.
liked it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll squeeze one more extra conversation into our footage here. Natalie, you're a great British Bake Off fan.
Oh yeah, it's coming back. Starts on Tuesday this week, so very excited.
Okay. What is it?
What is
is
it?
It's exactly what it sounds like, Blaine.
Yeah,
I mean, sure, isn't it? Tell me
it's
more.
British people baking in a tent
in a
England.
tent.
Yeah,
There's
if
a
they're
twist I
outdoors,
never saw
They're
coming.
they're in a tent, and sometimes the weather is wacky, and the chocolate melts too much, or your bread doesn't rise, and it's just drama, but very
What?
kind, gentle drama.
Very polite drama.
It is. It very much is.
So, what is it like? They get people together. Is there eliminations? Is there a winner at the end?
Yeah, so
Okay.
they start with like 12 contestants, and then each
Okay.
week somebody goes home because their bakes just aren't that good, or they melt, or whatever. and then there's a winner at the end.
Okay.
It's the greatest show on television.
My favorite part of it, at least I know they did this in season 1, is in between the baking, they would put pictures of little lambs because it's out in the country. I like that part.
Yeah. That's
You
great.
can't go wrong with little lambs.
You really can't.
It's Netflix. They don't show it weekly. They drop them all at once still.
No, they do it weekly. They do it so it airs
Whoa.
like 2 days after it airs live in England.
I did not know that Netflix ever did a show like that.
Oh yeah.
That's huge. And they've probably been doing this for how long? I didn't know it.
Just a couple of seasons.
Okay. Huh. The Great British Bake Off.
You should give it a try.
What's the tin about?
It's I don't know. It's charming.
Okay.
It's
Where
not
do
like
you
a
bake,
camping
Blaine?
tent. It's like one of those big white tents that people have banquets
Catering
in.
tent.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome all to the audio version of our podcast. You just missed. You don't have to miss. You can go to YouTube, the Alabama Take on YouTube, and watch the video version where Natalie just explained to me the Great British Bake Off in a tent.
She's really hung up on this tent.
Yeah, that's what
The goddamn tent, man. If you two will allow it, and I bet you will, we talked about it before we went on air. I'm going to give some passing and spoiler-filled thoughts on Ahsoka on Disney Plus, the recent Star Wars show. So anyone not caught up and you want to skip to the next time-stamped segment, that'll be about the Changeling. Go there if that's what you're here for, or listen to both. So Ahsoka is way more polarizing than I expected it to be before watching it. This is a show that has message boards lit up a little, and it's not for viewers. This show's not for viewers. It's for diehards. It's not for fans. It's for the fanatics, and that's sad to me. It's not even made for those of us who've watched every single movie 15 times each, or take your pick at there. Maybe you've seen every movie in the theater. I've had that luck of doing that. Do you remember when in the 90s, mid to late 90s, where George Lucas redid and released them in the theater?
Yeah, my dad took me to all those.
I went to all those too. Just loved it, despite the
it was great.
goofiness of the added scenes. Just to see it on the big screen.
Yeah. I mean, this is not the point of this podcast, but man, what is wrong with George Lucas's brain that he put that musical number into Return of the Jedi? Like what's actually wrong with his brain? It's all like early CGI too. It's just terrible.
Yeah, well, I wondered it's the same. It's the same synapses that are firing for him to create Jar Jar Binks.
That's true. The kids are going to eat it up.
I guess. I mean, he needed something extra. I guess that's all he could cook up.
That's all he had.
Ahsoka's not even made for those of us who've seen all the movies in the theater. It's for book readers, comic collectors, and, as you guessed, the cartoon watchers. And that's fun. I think that's great. But I do want some recognition from, I suppose, some of those people that this is 100% fan service. That's what it is. And
here's what I want. I'm going to interrupt you really quick.
Yes, that's why y'all are here. Keep me
I know
keep
some
me honest.
people, and by people I mean I know a person who is very into Ahsoka.
Okay.
And every day will ask me, "Hey, are you going to watch it? You going to watch it?" I'm like, can the people that are obsessed and that love it leave the rest of us alone and stop judging us?
Do you want to call person by name?
I mean, he doesn't listen to this podcast, so I could, but I'm not gonna.
It's great fan service. Is it a good how shows are usually judged or critiqued? Not really.
I think I had that incredible sinking feeling from the first episode where it's like, wait, I need to know and care about a lot more stuff. Mm-hmm. And I do think, like, there's this may be something I can't, like, 100% back up, But, like, Star Wars itself is kind of just fan service these days. Like, look, it's your pal, Mando. He's got a little guy. But...
Well, Luke appearing in The Mandalorian was all fan service.
And I do think that when you're like, oh, it's great fan service, that's kind of like the death knell for something as, like, actually being good. Because it's just catering at that point.
I have a theory that once you start expanding something that works well as a mythology, you strip it of its magic. You run the chance of demystifying your own mythos. It's
the same thing as the, like, you know, the cardinal rule of horror making, right? Don't show the monster. Let the imagination work, right? Like, let people fill in the gaps. Let them be tantalized.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of some of the stuff I'm talking about. So, an episode ends with Ahsoka losing a battle with... He may or may not be a Sith guy. He's definitely on the dark side of the Force, but is he Sith? Who knows? He never claims that. She loses a battle with him, and she goes off a cliff into water. Pretty high cliff. Would kill people, normally. The entire next episode, the whole 45-minute runtime, was her reliving certain moments of the cartoon with Hayden Christensen's Anakin. And the point was that he was supposed to be teaching her a final lesson in her Jedi training. And listeners, I do not know what that lesson was. It was 45 minutes of pure fan fiction, just allowing fanboys to jerk off about it, seeing a cartoon in live action form. Marvel is running this risk sometimes.
Hell, Disney's doing the same thing.
Yeah. I do think that Marvel takes something from the comics and tried to at least add more to it, and sometimes when they add more to it, that's where they get bumpy. So their track record is a little different than what Star Wars is doing. And listen, that shit can be super cool. I was 5 once. I get it. But as an adult, or simply someone who wants to see cool stuff and have a good story happening at once, that's doing nothing for 45 minutes. So
that was a pretty good insult to everybody who enjoys Ahsoka. Because none of those people are 5.
You weren't supposed to call them out like that.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yeah, but you go to the message boards and everyone loves it.
This show sucks.
I get it. I get why people love it, but I don't like it, and that's me. I feel like when they do this, when shows do this, they allow people to take a stand merely on its existence rather than its quality. I think that's a little sad because you lose sight of what good art, dare I call Star Wars art, you lose sight of what good entertainment can be. There's no objectivity. Thank you.
That's an interesting thought. I think I'm going to think about that because there's some that could possibly go outside of even just like this show, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's
a good thought. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It's go to the message boards that everyone either loves it or hate it, and a lot of love because Hayden Christensen wore a cartoon thing, and you know, it's also a lot of you got to go do homework. Yeah. He's actually okay. I saw some comments that he was horrible, but he wasn't. He was fine. I'm just not going to do homework to get a show, and I think that's where Natalie is with some of this.
All of it.
Yeah.
I don't have time. I don't have time to catch up, and that's what I just tell this person who keeps asking me. It's like I'm not even that busy, and I'm too busy for this.
That's pretty good. Because I always feel super busy. This show's the equivalent of Mad Men having a spin-off about Pete Campbell's mother's servant who watched the goings-on between her and Bob.
God, I'd watch that.
I would watch the shit out of it.
I'd watch it in an instant. See, this is like, we're sitting here like, well, fan service, but then like you talk about the thing that's like your fan service, and it's like, that's incredible. Why would anyone have a problem with that?
Yeah. Another thing this show's done, it's made me question Rosario Dawson's acting skills. And here I was living under the assumption she was just fine. She was pretty good.
She was fine.
She's not here. She must be getting bad direction.
I was going to say, she seemed a little leaden in what I saw, but it
I mean,
didn't just seem like...
That's chronic for all Star Wars anything, except for Pedro Pascal, which he's just an anomaly who wasn't on screen for most of his acting. So what are you going to do?
He's a beautiful man.
And they put him in a helmet.
How dare they?
Just to make it more impactful when you see his eyes.
Yeah. Tell me if this sounds on par with Star Wars or a little goofy for Star Wars. Most recent episode, not making this up, Ahsoka had to traverse galaxies by making her ship go into a whale's mouth and it shutting, and the space whale, literally the name of them, space whale, flew hyperspace style to another galaxy for her.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. I didn't know. Because it bordered on ridiculous. I just couldn't tell.
I just think everything was... This is a real nerd pet peeve. Mm-hmm. But, the Star Wars universe feels like you can literally go from one end of the galaxy to the other in an afternoon. I'm like, how big is this place? Are there any stakes to anything?
They made a big deal out of going to a brand new galaxy.
Okay.
That took effort. That took episodes to get to.
Okay.
In fact, the Ezra guy you keep hearing so much about, everyone has to say his name twice per episode, he finally showed up in the most recent episode to zero fanfare. He's just standing there. He just stands by a tent.
They find Thrawn yet?
It's that tent again.
They did. He showed up.
Okay.
He had a lot more fanfare. I saw some complaints about his entrance, but I thought it was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it worked a little. So Sabine finds Ezra, and she's just turns around, and he's standing by a tent, and he's just like, hello. I mean, I would have had him chopping off heads. I'd have been like, look, we preached about this guy. You got to see him. Something weird's got to happen with this. No, just he's there. Anyway, I think that this one's really hindering Star Wars, its reputation a little. But I don't know. It's not made for me. I need to accept that fact, probably.
That's probably the most germane that, from episode, it's like if you watched all of Clone Wars and you watched all of whatever and you watched the Star Wars Rebels show and you really care, boy oh boy are we rewarding you. But if you haven't, you've either got a ton of homework to do or you might want to watch something else.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my Deadwood spinoff, people. When do I get fan service? With that, we'll go to break. We're going to come to you on the other side, talk about the most recent few episodes of The Changeling. Yeah, we'll continue some discussion about The Changeling from Apple TV+. Lakeith Stanfield is the star, based off the novel of the same name from Victor Laval. A very specific kind of genre. Magic realism meets maybe a little horror, a little... I don't know.
That's dark fantasy. It reminds me of a lot of the stuff Neil Gaiman likes to do. Kind of that same vein.
Yeah, okay. If you don't want spoilers for what's on this show in the last 2 or 3 episodes, we just watched episode 5 this weekend, and we might get all the way through that one. So just be careful if that's what you want to wait and hear. Where we left off last weekend was episode 2, or give or take, at the end. Opening of the 3rd episode, to me, was good horror. He's chained to the chair. You have no idea what Emma's doing.
I think, at least for me, you pretty quickly put together what's about to happen. And I think it was so much good horror for me, it was like, do not show me anything of what happened beyond that door. Do not show me that. I'd rather watch poor Lakeith get beat up than...
Yeah.
It was unsettling.
Apollo's chained to the chair. There is a very probably blatant thing holding him to the chair on his neck that is reminiscent of how slaves were held. It's probably no more than a bicycle lock.
It's a bike lock, yeah.
It's a bike lock that Breaking Bad also used to great scenery, imagery. But it did immediately make me think of that, which is scary too. It's well played. Stanfield looked scared. You have no idea how crazy Emma's gone in that. It's like don't show the monster kind of thing you're talking about. It's not relying on CGI, and to me that's where the good horror happens. Kudos to the makeup department there because he looked rough.
Yeah. I don't know why. This is less me saying like something coherent than just being like, here's a scene that really freaked me out. But as soon as I knew she was going to do it, but as soon as she picks up the kettle with her bare hand,
yes,
it's like that. Just she had to act very unhappy, and she did a very good job with that.
Yeah. So are you guys all caught up? 3, 4, and 5?
I'm on 4. I haven't watched 5 yet.
I'm caught
4
up.
gets a little muddy. Don't you think, Natalie, that's where the plot lines were just a little too many?
I've got to remember what 4 was.
That's the first time they hit the island where
They hit the
what's her
island.
face is.
He hits the island of possible witches, and
Right.
William has taken him there.
It's funny you say that, Blaine, because I'm still compelled, and I'm going to keep watching. But 4 was one where I was like, it's a little creaky right here. Like I'm enjoying watching it, but like there's a little too much going on, and like the episode itself, there's a little like they're really into the flashbacks. But when you've seen the same flashback every single episode, 4 times in a row, it's like I get it. His dad came to the door once.
Yeah, and this is not a spoiler at all, but I think the way 5 ended, I felt that way too. It was like, did we need to do this? It's feeling a little... The web is a little too complicated right now.
Exactly.
Let's simplify.
That's it. 4 does that. I thought 5 made up for it a little. I thought 5 stayed
I thought
a
it
little
did
bit.
too until the very end.
Okay, you're going to have to remind me of the very end.
Yeah, I don't care.
When they finds out that the guy, William,
Oh, yes.
is
No,
actually
say no.
yeah.
Okay, yes.
It's
that's
funny
key.
that if it's going to be a revelation about William, because everything with William has been like, you think he's this, he's actually this. But on the other
But
hand,
he's
this.
actually...
Like, he's
Exactly.
just-
Well, the whole time you're sitting there thinking he looks like a pedophile, and there's just no way this guy's cool. The whole time. By the way, this was the guy. This was the actor. I was so curious if you guys would have any kind of reaction. You know who he is, right?
No, who is he? Because you were saying he's someone we should have recognized.
He's the lead singer of Future Islands.
Is that true?
100% true. Did you know that? Or-
No, I mean, I've literally seen that great, what is it, Letterman clip 1,000 times, and I would have
Oh,
never...
I've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah,
yes.
right? It's still great, and I would never
Yeah.
make that connection. That is
Yeah.
wild. Who knew he was into acting? He's actually pretty
Yes.
good.
And not bad. Yeah, he
Yeah.
is really good. A couple of things are working for me really well with this show still, despite the clunky 4th episode. To me, it's still fun. To me, the camera works so good. I love how sometimes it'll even peer around a corner, especially when it's a child's point of view or they're the main character. If there's a child as a main character in the scene, you get a little peeking and low camera angle. I don't think that it's just horror or thrills. There's some true emotion to be found here. The ladies on the island in episode 5 honestly felt less like a bunch of ladies who may have killed their kids because they thought the baby was a changeling, and more like a battered women's shelter. And I was invested in that. I was, show me more, tell me more. Have they really killed babies? Is that what's happening here? I just think it's doing really good blending real world things with fairy tale magical realism kind of stuff.
It kind of, watching this, I saw and was reminded of something Adam said last time. This was specifically with Emma, right, where she's been like up way too long, and everything is feels like, like when you had no sleep like that, as the narrator tells us, right? Like things can start to be very weird. And I feel like that's kind of continued through the series, where another good thing that it's doing is like, the heightened emotional states of like grief.
Yes.
That Apollo is in, right? Like, can make things seem unreal. Like the surrealness, right, of being told by your parole officer to go sit in a room with a group of other strangers and tell about the worst thing that ever happened to you. That seems like it really, really, really pretty easily lends itself to like just eerie otherworldliness, right? Like they play together really well.
Yeah. Does it lose some of its punch when they start using the subtext as the actual dialogue, and they're saying you're in a fairy tale? Does that lose a little? I was like, well, I wish they would have not said that.
I think it's worse because I if they want to go, you're in a fairy tale now, and tell me that, I'm in. Like, that's interesting to me. But when a lot of it is also like, we've got this weird quasi Facebook thing happening, that pulls me out of it immediately, and
I'm
I
a
hate
fan,
it.
if you will.
Why is that? Why does it pull you out?
It just feels like you're modernizing a fairy tale in a way too specific way. I don't know. It's just every time it comes up, and now it seems like it's going to keep coming up, it just takes me out of it.
Emma is probably chatting with the lady Cal, who's sort of the head of the island in the Facebook thing group, maybe. By the way, Cal being played by Malcolm in the Middle mom, Jane Kasmerick.
Haven't seen her for a while, huh?
Wouldn't it be great if Bryan Cranston was her husband in a flashback? He makes a cameo. It's going to be a backdoor reboot for Malcolm in the Middle, for all we know. Life is unfair.
Blaine,
Did you guys watch that show?
I was gonna say you're like on fire with like reboot ideas today.
I tell you,
Hollywood, who needs a writer? They're on strike. Listen to this man. He's not unionized. He'll give you this stuff for pennies.
I will tell you one thing. Episode 5 I thought did well, and one thing that has me worried. And you guys comment if you want. Episode 5 has this nice central idea of, if women are together helping one another, then they're just witches to society, literal or figurative. And I thought that was very fascinating. And one thing that's got me a little worried, apparently this show, its 5th episode, is not even at the halfway point of the book, which means we're going to have to wait till another season to find out the whole story.
That actually worries me too, because that was kind of what I was feeling, where it's like it's getting a little creaky, where it's just like you're stretching it out more than it might need to be stretched. And I mean, I think the actors can handle it. I think I'm not like sitting there hating it, but also I think that's a temptation when you're adapting a book into a TV series, right? Is to not stretch it out too much.
Am I wrong that, or am I right that the author of the book is also the narrator?
He is. Yeah, we mentioned that I think last week.
Okay, that's what I thought. Maybe get somebody else to narrate it, because it's not working for me.
Interesting. I thought he was fine. I actually kind of thought it was nice. Obviously he likes it and he's involved with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. But there's just something about I don't know if it's because a lot of times they'll narrate something and then it's Lakeith Stanfield on screen being incredible. It's just, it always just falls flat to me.
A couple questions. William was creepy from the start for me. Is he a changeling?
He's a something.
He's a something. Emma's photographs did something to him. In episode 5, you finally see the photograph. A complaint from Vulture Rider was that you didn't need to see all that happen. You get the idea, of the photograph happening. William speaks Norwegian to Cal. She's the leader of the island, so to speak. And the show opened with a ship from Norway. That's got to connect. So, not sure how. If season 1 at least answers some of these questions and only plans another season to answer the rest, I think that's acceptable for me as a viewer. Otherwise, I get a little worried about what they're going to try to do.
I don't want to watch Lost again.
No, sir. Well, we will wind it down there. There's more to see and hear from us. We are on TikTok. We have our own little account on TikTok, Taking It Down Pod. Same thing you'll find with Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, as long as we're there. That won't be long, maybe. Instagram, Threads, we're there, Taking It Down Pod. But of course, Alabama Take is pretty much everywhere, which, that'll help you find anything you want Alabama Take related, including the various podcasts and writing. Thanks to Donovan and Natalie. Maybe we can hear from Adam next week in his new jeans. Pantalones. We'll end there. Talk to everyone later.